Have you ever wondered why some travelers who do everything right, who plan months ahead, collect every single document, and apply early for their visas, still end up getting rejected or delayed, while the last-minute travelers somehow get approved like magic? Sounds unfair, right? But there's a hidden reason behind it that no travel blog, no embassy website, and no travel agent will ever tell you, because it's buried deep in how visa officers actually think. You see, the problem isn't that you applied wrong, it's that you applied too early. And that timing, my friend, quietly triggers a chain of suspicion that can destroy your chances before your passport even lands on the visa officer's desk. Let me explain. When you apply for a visa too early, you might think it shows how organized, responsible, and serious you are about your trip. But from the inside, behind those embassy walls, it can actually signal the opposite. Visa officers aren't robots checking documents. They're trained human decision-makers reading between every line. When they see an application submitted too early, especially several months before your travel date, it sets off subtle questions in their mind. Why is this person in such a rush? Are they too desperate to get out? Are their travel plans real or just a cover story? It's harsh, but that's how it works. The earlier you apply, the more time your case sits in the system, and the more updates or document requests they can send you, each one opening a door to another possible red flag. And here's the wildest part. In some visa systems, early applications actually trigger background refresh cycles, automatic rechecks that happen over time if your case stays open too long. So if your country or your name gets flagged later in a random database update, boom, your already submitted visa gets delayed or sent for manual review, even though you did nothing wrong. Crazy, right? Now imagine two travelers. One applies 6 months early because he's scared of delays. The other applies just 6 weeks before departure, well within the embassy's processing window. Guess who gets the smoother approval? 9 times out of 10, it's the second traveler. Why? Because their data looks fresh, their travel intent feels current, and their file doesn't trigger those long, idle checks. But there's more. Early applicants often make the biggest mistake without even realizing it. They submit travel plans that are still flexible. Maybe they don't have fixed flight dates or confirmed hotel bookings yet, so they write tentative itinerary or planning to stay around 10 days. To you, that sounds reasonable. To a visa officer, it screams uncertainty. And guess what uncertain people do? They change their minds, overstay, or misuse visas. You see how dangerous that looks now? By the time you finally book your flights or confirm your plans, your early submitted documents are already outdated, but your application is frozen in that earlier version. That mismatch creates inconsistencies, and inconsistencies are poison to visa approval rates. Even something as small as a different hotel address or a changed date can raise suspicion when it's cross-checked later. That's why experienced travelers, those who have quietly cracked the system, follow a rule that isn't written anywhere. Apply neither too early nor too late, but right inside that embassy's sweet spot window, usually around 45 to 60 days before travel. That's the golden range where your documents look fresh, your intent looks believable, and your timeline fits normal traveler behavior. Anything before that, and you risk falling into what insiders call the timing trap. Embassies don't announce this, of course. They just say, you may apply up to 6 months in advance. But the trick is, may doesn't mean should. That's the hidden line no one reads carefully. When you apply months in advance, your application doesn't fit the statistical pattern of genuine tourists, students, or business visitors. Visa algorithms, yes, they use them now, are designed to analyze timing behavior too. If your submission is far ahead of average applicants from your region, that alone can lower your credibility score before a human even touches your file. You're basically fighting an invisible algorithm that thinks, why is this person so early? Is there something they're not saying? And this algorithm doesn't care if you're just being careful. It just sees abnormal timing. Then there's another factor almost nobody talks about: currency and financial document timing. When you apply early, your bank statements are usually older by the time your file is reviewed. That means your financial stability snapshot no longer matches the date of your intended travel. Embassies know that people's financial conditions can change in a few months, and so older documents lose weight fast. In short, your early application unintentionally tells them, "This is outdated info." Now here's where it gets psychological. Visa officers work under pressure reviewing hundreds of files a day. They rely on patterns, intuition developed from thousands of cases. Early applications tend to be associated statistically with uncertain travelers, students still figuring out their plans, freelancers applying just in case, or people who have been refused before and are now overcompensating. When they see that kind of timing, even unconsciously, it can tilt their perception of you. They start to look for something wrong instead of assuming everything's fine. One small mismatch in your travel purpose or a missing hotel confirmation, and that tiny doubt becomes a reason for further administrative processing. You might even get a rejection that simply says, "Travel purpose not convincing," and you're left wondering why, when you followed all the rules. But that's the point. Some of the rules you see on embassy websites aren't actually rules for approval. They're just the minimum legal conditions for submission. The real approval criteria live in patterns, timing patterns, behavioral patterns, risk profiles that nobody outside the system talks about. Now, if you think this only happens with tourist visas, think again. Student visas, business visas, and even family visit visas can fall into the same trap. The longer your file stays in the system before review, the more chances it has to be randomly audited or tagged for verification. It's not about you. It's about how modern visa systems now operate under data surveillance and risk prediction. In other words, early means more exposure time to possible complications. And sometimes, embassies change their visa policies or documentation lists mid-year. If you applied before that update, your file may suddenly become non-compliant with the new version, even if it was valid when you applied. That's another hidden danger. People who applied early often find their files delayed or canceled because the embassy quietly changed its checklist later. Meanwhile, people who applied later breeze through because they submitted under the updated rules. Timing. That's the secret weapon or silent killer of your visa. And here's something even deeper. When you apply early, your travel energy dies. That sounds strange, but hear me out. When you apply early, you stop planning. You relax, thinking you've handled it. But then you forget to check your emails, you miss embassy updates, or you fail to respond to document requests quickly because your mind has already moved on. I've seen travelers who missed their flights because their early application suddenly got under review 2 days before departure. Meanwhile, their friends who applied a month later got their visas right on time. That's not luck. It's timing psychology in action. The people who apply too early often disconnect from their case emotionally. They assume it's done, but embassies don't think that way. They expect engaged applicants who stay responsive. Early submission kills that urgency. Now let's talk about how to use this knowledge smartly. Instead of rushing your application, spend that extra time refining your story. Because that's what your documents actually are. Your travel story. Your invitation letter, your itinerary, and your bank statement, they tell a narrative. When you wait until 6 to 8 weeks before travel, that story looks alive, current, and believable. If you wait too long, you risk missing deadlines. If you apply too early, your story looks stale. The middle zone is where magic happens. That's the zone embassies subconsciously trust. Even your photos, your ticket confirmation dates, and your insurance coverage, all these details show temporal consistency. Everything aligns naturally, and your case passes through the system like a smooth river instead of a dammed one. That's how experienced digital nomads and frequent travelers keep getting approved. They've learned this from experience, not from guides. Now you might ask, so what if I'm applying early for peace of mind? Fair question. The truth is, peace of mind can turn into false security. Because once your application goes in, you can't pull it back easily. You're at the mercy of processing times, which fluctuate every week. If the embassy suddenly gets overloaded or prioritizes another visa type, your early file gets pushed down the queue. Yes, down? Because newer applications often move faster in dynamic systems, while older ones go into what insiders call the aged queue. It's like when you send an email that gets buried under newer ones. The newer, fresher cases get handled first. That's something even embassy staff rarely admit publicly. So next time someone tells you to apply early just to be safe, smile politely. But don't follow blindly. Timing your visa isn't about being early or late. It's about understanding system psychology. Every embassy has its rhythm. Some process fast, some slow, and some prioritize business travelers over tourists. Research that rhythm. Watch recent applicant timelines on forums and strike when the window is warm. And if you ever doubt it, remember this rule of thumb. Apply when your documents are most complete, your intent most believable, and your story most consistent, not when your fear is loudest. Because fear makes people rush. Confidence makes people time things right. And visa officers can feel that difference even through paper. Crazy to think something as simple as a few weeks' timing could decide your fate, right? But it happens every day. The early applicant gets stuck in background checks, while the confident one who waited gets approved fast and smoothly. That's the paradox of the visa world. Patience beats panic. So if you've been planning your next adventure and thinking of applying as soon as possible, pause for a second. Ask yourself, is it readiness or is it anxiety? Because embassies can smell the difference. Wait for the right moment, align your papers, and strike within that golden 6 to 8 week window. You'll not only save time and stress, you'll silently play the system at its own game. And when that visa finally lands in your hand, not delayed, not questioned, but approved in record time, you'll realize the truth that almost nobody online talks about. The smartest travelers aren't the fastest ones, they're the ones who understand timing like an art. That's the secret behind every smooth trip, every approved visa, and every confident traveler walking past that immigration counter with a smile. Timing isn't just a date on a calendar. It's the difference between approved and we regret to inform you. And that's why you should never, ever apply for a visa too early.